Small project for today it's been overdue on my 2002 Mazda Millenia, and it is for the thermostat. I noticed that the temperature gauge in my car after 5 minutes, when it was 40 degrees, it went a little over than half. And definitely I know this car is not overheating. So given the fact that it's only got 90,000 miles, I am going to make the safe assumption that it's carrying the factory thermostat, and it's in need of a new one. So for those that are interested, this is somewhat uncomfortable, not that bad. Yes, you can do this at home. A few things that you're going to need is, again, basic hand tools. Make sure you have, of course, a ratchet, 10 and 12 millimeters, socket, wrenches, that type of combination. You're going to need a drain pan for whatever is left over in the thermostat housing. You're going to need a gasket for the thermostat housing right here. And this is where it lives, right here. So you have one bolt and that bracket, and you have that bolt right there. Both 12 millimeters, and the pipe, as you can see, is a solid pipe, and it goes all the way to the lower radiator. And for those that are actually thinking of moving this housing out, you have right behind the, I don't know if I can show you with something else. I'm going to show you with my wrench. This right here, you have a bolt right there, and that's actually soldered to the thermostat housing, and it needs to be removed in order to wiggle that out. So I just wanted to let you guys know about it. That is an overflow, if I'm not mistaken, coolant overflow, and we're gonna attempt to take it out. I'm gonna take it along with me. Just again, make sure you have the right thermostat, gasket. You do not need to remove the throttle body. However, I need to also do a gasket on it, and it finally arrived. So I'm gonna take them both out, and since I'm in the area. But for those that are looking for it, make sure that you take the wires out for the injectors. You have some vacuum hoses here. I disconnected them, moved them aside. The elbow, which I received not too long ago, it was installed, just removed, so this job could be somewhat accessible and easier. So I'm going to take you along with it and see how far we get. Alright, as a follow-up here, I grab a set of vice grips here, so I could just move around the housing here. And as you can see, there it is. There's a thermostat already in there. I did not see a gasket in here, so I guess it's just a press fitting, and the O-ring is the guide that seals. So I'm gonna remove it out, clean the mating surface, and continue. Alright, it is stuck in there, like really in it. And again, I'm not afraid of damaging it because I am going to remove it. And that is the coolant falling down on the pan, hopefully. And just in case I forgot at the beginning to tell you guys, make sure you have spare coolant. Whatever comes off, we need to top it off. If you did a recent coolant change, you can just put it back. However, the pan that I'm using, I use it for fluid waste. So I put oil and transmission fluid in there, so it's gonna go in there because I'm going to toss it. Should you actually put it back in? Yes, put it back in if you have a clean pan. Put all this together for you guys here. Let's see if I can get some better lighting. This is a ratchet and wrench number 12. So I'm just going to put it together. This is much easier if you have somebody else to help you, where they can grab the lower hose coming here and angle it properly, but not that bad if you're doing it by yourself. Alright, and this is exactly what I mean. I'm going to grab the hose. As you can see, I'm just able to wiggle it and align it better. So that's one of the methods that I'm going to employ here. Alright, so I'm going to put you guys down briefly because I need to align the mounting surface here. Here, one moment. And I believe nope. Yep, I got it. Alright, so make sure it's not cross-threaded or anything like that. And usually like to tighten things by hand. And this one went sideways. And here you go, fix it. So, I don't know if you guys can see what I'm doing there. And again, sorry for the sniffles. It is 36 degrees here today in my state. Alright, almost done. Alright. Now, just in case you don't have one of these, which is okay. However, this is going to come handy. And just in case you see a similar video or something of this nature where, you know, you can't get in there with a socket or wrench, you got to play with these. It looks like it's gonna need more tightening. All right. Alright, so even though it looks like it's a closed seal, I still have to torque it down. And if I'm not mistaken, it is for 16 foot-pounds. Is what this application calls for. Now, it didn't feel like 16 foot-pounds when I took it off. It felt like way more. And that's okay because it's been there for a long time, so I'm assuming that it kind of froze off in there. So I'm just going to hit it with this so it can be nice and snug, and then of course get my torque wrench. Now, many of you guys would say that when you have an extension, and you have many extensions like I'm using here. I'm using 2 extensions. I'm using an extension here, a wobble one. I usually like to call it wobble, but this is for angles. And you cannot get accurate torquing, and that is correct. I have to agree with you, but do you really have the luxury of putting a torque wrench in here if the engine is inside of the car? So if you want to set it, you know, close by, that's fine. Keep an eye on it. And if you see any leaks, of course, clean it up. Check your gasket. Make sure it is not crushed when you're putting it inside of the housing. And recheck your work. Now, you may think that you are leaking coolant because, remember, we just took the system, we opened it, so whatever was inside, it leaked down. It followed gravity. So be mindful of that you might actually be still leaking whatever is left over inside of the engine compartment here. Transmission, as you can see right there, I do have a bit of a puddle. I'm going to try to put a rag in there. I'm not going to blast it with anything because I do know that this transmission, I believe it's got some solenoids in there that I do not want to fried or short. So be mindful of that. I'll take you along soon with the follow-up. Alright, as promised before, guys, we're going to take care of this gasket, which is for the throttle body. Now, for those that are experiencing engine code P0300, or the engine is like running rough, shaking, and you have a lean code or anything of the sort, and places to suspect on this type of car will be on this gasket right here, and also the intake gasket right here, which, by the way, this will take 2 of them. These are pressed steel, and I have used them many times, but over time, if they lose the integrity of sealing, those are the guys to look forward to. But as you can see, new gasket, make sure it aligns. I aligned it with the throttle body itself, and the reason why I put it on here is, after I align it, is because, as you can see, the throttle body is in pieces here. It's just like brittle. I can already see cracks on it. It's been here since day one, or since God knows when. But basically, this needs to be removed. And in order to remove any type of stuff like that, be very gentle with it. This is made out of aluminum. And if you have pliers, anything like that, yes, that can help. But understand that this is only going to break in pieces, depending how long it's been in there. So, as you can see, it broke. It came bottom piece out. The top piece actually came out. It was actually here. It's separated, and as you can see, it's still coming out in pieces. Alright, so I can't take out anymore, so time to employ this. This is a gasket remover, and basically it's not violent, it's not rough on the surface, since, like I said before, this is all made out of aluminum. So basically just scrape and scrape, make sure that the surface is clean. For those that are using RTV to make your own gasket, make sure the surface is as clean as you guys can get it, both the throttle body and the neck. And we have one here. I believe I can take by hand. It's a funny angle. Okay, so nothing can be on this surface. Nothing. No piece of gasket whatsoever. Okay, so take all the junk out. Alright, so far we have gotten everything from the top part out. We just need to address this tiny piece right here. And it's just not coming out at all. I may actually have to get a screwdriver or something that acts like a chisel, but here we go. it came out completely. Now, it's a matter of bolting everything back on. And for those that are actually wondering why are the harnesses out, is because this is, I just put on the thermostat gasket. But as you can see here, this is on. If you do not like taking the throttle body cable out, the way that I got this far is by bending the butterfly back, and that way you have more slack to slide it onto this guy right here. And let's go ahead to see if we can try to put this back on. Okay, it's gonna fight with you, especially if you did not disconnect the hoses. And for those wondering what hoses am I talking about, I'm talking about the coolant passages to keep that throttle body cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a find a mallet and I'm going to slide it in. All right, here we go. All right. Somewhere in here I left the bolts. Here we go. Just gonna take 2 nuts and 2 bolts. If you've been following this series of videos, you know that one of the bolts will actually hold a bracket for one of the hoses. Okay, so this is our guy right here, through bolts. And on these guys, normally what I do is I did not find a torque spec for this, and to be honest with you, I didn't look very much into the book, but I know that I have done this before on my 626, and I did not find any type of torque specs for this throttle body. So usually I do not like to overkill it, so I'm just going to turn the car on later on, and I'm going to observe for, or hear for any hisses, any leaks, vacuum leaks, anything of the sort. So that's what I'm going to be looking for. These are 12, by the way. And like I said, I'm sure there's a torque spec for it. I didn't find it. And I didn't look too much for it, but let's actually go ahead and bring this harness out. This one goes right here. This is the throttle body position. I believe this is the bypass. Alright, so make sure that everything is out of the way. We're going to put the snorkel on. I have to put these guys back on. This is for the ignition. Make sure everything clicks. I normally like to take this top off so I can put the snorkel or the hose comfortably. I don't want to stress it or break it, so I'm going to work on that right now. as you can see, it's completely off. And again, excuse my dog today. One hose, two hoses on. Good. And just in case you guys are replacing this guy right here, it does not come with this piece. This piece is separate. It should be taken off the original, clamp, unclamp it, and then slide it back onto the new one. And I found that out when I purchased the replacement for this snorkel right here. Alright, take this out. Alright, and I can't put that together with one hand. So I'm just going to put the phone down, put it all together, and bring you guys along with it after I set it down. Alright, as you can see, it's not leaking. I'm just going to let it warm up and see how far it goes. If you see that you are doing this job and then all of a sudden you have the temperature light gauge sensor telling that if you're overheating, you need to let the system release all the air pockets inside of the system. So keep that in mind. Just in case you do a job like this, you have no leaks, you have done this repair, and all of a sudden when you're driving, you know your car is still cold, then all of a sudden you see that the temperature gauge is beyond the normal. Just release any air pockets you may have. Alright, so far I have to, of course, put more coolant in it. But so far this is what I have here. Gonna let it warm up a little bit more. And I'm just gonna wrap it up here for you guys. Thanks for watching.